Hello everyone, let's learn astrology. Welcome to number 9 in my series of Vedic Astrology Basics. This time it's more Sambandha, a relationship between the planets in the chart, such as combustions, Parivartana, friendship, enemy relationships, all the things you need to do good Vedic astrology. If you're new to my channel, of course, don't forget to sub below, and if the video is good, give it a thumbs up. Let's begin. We're going to start though with questions from the last lesson from my viewers, because last lesson was aspects. Some difficult learning there, I know, and actually the questions are very pertinent because they enable me to give you more information about aspects. So I'd stick with this. You might learn something very important indeed. Otherwise, of course, timestamps are below if you want to skip right on to lesson 9. The first question: what happens to empty houses in Rasi sign aspect? Don't forget, the sign is a house, by the way. So we saw that cardinal signs aspect fixed signs and vice versa, that dual signs aspect each other. If you didn't know all of that, you must definitely listen to lesson 8, by the way. So this marvelous system of permanent aspects, these are happening all the way through life. What happens if one sign or two signs which are aspecting each other have no planets? Let's see. Let's use Marilyn Monroe's chart, the chart that we are using in this series, getting to know it so well. This is good to answer the question. Cancer is the ascendant cardinal sign. So we learned that fixed signs, except the one next door, are going to have mutual aspect to this ascendant. So it looks like this. Cancer ascendant has a fixed aspect, a mutual aspect, to the 5th house of Scorpio, and it goes backwards to Aquarius, the 8th house, going backwards, and to Taurus, and going backwards like that. So these are the 3 houses which are having a Rasi sign aspect to her ascendant. Now, the ascendant has no planets, of course, but Aquarius, the 8th house, does, Jupiter, Mars, and they permanently aspect ascendant. Actually, she died in this Jupiter-Mars Mahadasha. Big effect. We're going to see this. Sun, Mercury permanently aspect ascendant. So there is mutual factor here. Very, very strong. 1st house, 11th house, 1st house, 8th house. But not 1st house, 5th house. It's not manifesting karmas from this perspective. Why? Because there are no planets 1st house or 5th house. Yes, there is a subtle effect, but really, as a beginner, just take note. If there are no planets here like this, between any Rasi sign aspect, don't pay so much attention to it. Just ignore it for now. That's the best way forward. We are concerned about manifesting karmas. That's the most important thing. Another good question. Is there a conjunction happening when planets are close by degree but in different signs? Thank you for the question. Let's have an example of this. Say you've got Mars at 28 degrees Taurus and you've got Venus at 0 degrees Gemini. There's only 2 degrees between them in space. Looking at the sky, they are virtually close together. You could see them in that telescope. They're really close together. It is a conjunction astronomically, but astrologically, no, it is not. Why? Because the signs have the karmas. So Mars's karma is coming through Taurus, and Venus's karma is coming through Gemini sign. They are not having the same karma. Karmas means we have done deeds past life, and these are the effects. So this means they are not going to manifest strongly Mahadasha. No, they need to be same sign. So I wouldn't call it a powerful conjunction, but there is an exception when the sun is involved. When there is combustion, forget about the signs, think about the actual degrees. That's the exception. We're doing that this lesson. There is another angle to this though. Some of you asked this as well. What if they are in the same nakshatra but not the same sign? Then are they having a conjunction? Now, of course, I'm not teaching about nakshatras in this series because that's a much deeper level. This is astrology basics, but I will still answer the question. Planets in the same nakshatra, lunar mansion, but different signs, is there a conjunction? No, I would not consider that conjunction for karmic manifestation of events. What is happening is that they have a similar mindset, because nakshatras are lunar based. Moon is the mind, remember? So they are thinking alike, but they are not acting out karmas, bringing events. It's a completely different level. So no, keep it in mind. Same sign, stick with that, and you will not go wrong. In this lesson, everyone, I'm going to learn about combustions in a horoscope, planetary war, the strength of the moon, friends and foes, and Parivartana, known as mutual exchange. Let's start with combustion. When the planets get very close to the sun within a certain radius, we are definitely seeing combustion. Combustion means that the sun's fire tattva, he is fire element, is purifying or burning up some of the material significations of the graha. How to see a combustion? Well, we're going to have to start counting degrees. One of the exceptions to the general rule, where we do need to look at degrees, definitely. Therefore, this can go beyond sign boundaries. Because combustion is a physical phenomena, and this is something to definitely remember. When you see any planet close to the sun but in a lower degree than the sun in the chart, then that planet is potentially combust but also not visible from the earth. It is invisible. It has gone behind the sun. And this makes it a particularly strong combustion. Remember that point. So let's get the orbs or degrees in which we can see combustion. This goes before the sun and after the sun in both cases. Now, you will see different degrees, different numbers in different systems, slightly than this, but I find these work very well indeed. You may notice we do not see the moon here or Rahu Ketu. Moon is a waxing, waning phenomena. We're going to see about strength of the moon in a minute. That's a different factor. And Rahu Ketu eclipse, they do not combust in that sense. So I would suggest that you use Mercury, 13 degrees before the sun, after the sun. Venus, 9 degrees both ways. Mars, 17. Jupiter 12 degrees each way, and Saturn 15 degrees either side of the sun in a chart. Let's have an example. Say the sun is 18 degrees Aries in a horoscope. Then Mercury would be combust, don't forget 13 degree orb, between 6 Aries and 0 Taurus, going into another sign because it's about degree closeness to the sun. Venus, 9 degrees, of course, so 10 Aries to 26 Aries. Mars, 2 Aries to 5 Taurus. Jupiter, 7 Aries, 29 Aries. And Saturn, 4 Aries, right up until 2 degrees of Taurus in the horoscope. I did these quickly, by the way. If I've made a miscalculation, please let me know below. But I hope that gives you the idea how we calculate combustion to the sun in a chart. Now, how to judge a combustion, very important. First thing, the actual planet significations itself are becoming burnt up. There's some difficulty, strain, problem dealing with the significations, karaka significations of the individual planet. I'm not going to go through every planet here, but please check out carefully video 3 in this series. Check out meaning of the planet. Check out karaka significance, understanding that if they are in a combustion, they are being burnt up. They are struggling to actually manifest some of the more positive aspects of the graha. A general rule is that benefic planets like Venus, Mercury can go either way, of course, but Venus definitely, Jupiter combust. Some of their beneficence is being burnt up. That is not so helpful. Some of the malefic planets, though, like Mars, Saturn, can become more malefic, more powerful in their maleficence because of these powerful burning factors of the sun. If you got the sun and Mars, for example, that's a double Agni factor that can be very, very stressful. One thing, because Mercury, Buddha, Venus, Shukra are often near to the sun, they often come into a combustion. Therefore, some astrologers say we don't need to worry about that too much, or it's not as strong. I have definitely not found that to be the case. It's irrelevant how often they come into a combustion with the sun, everyone. The question is, are they in a combustion in that horoscope? That's the point. You see, what we're seeing in a combustion, everyone, is that the sun combusting any planet. Sun is spiritual factor. Sun is the soul. So the highest spiritual significance of that planet gets a boost, gets brought out, is becoming purified. And this is actually very favorable if you could just think of it that way. It's not easy materially, but spiritually it's hugely beneficial. Let's take Buddha Mercury as an example, often in a combustion with the sun. Mercury can give speech problems, communication problems, difficulties with reading, writing, like dyslexia, etc. Sign placement makes a difference, but combustion affects these factors. There can be restlessness, difficulty concentrating, that sort of thing. Education can become hampered. At the same time, Buddha with the sun combust gives a hugely intuitive and sharp intelligence. Many people, it is not the normal intelligence maybe showing in an IQ test, but an incredibly perceptive intelligence that can be seen. And of course, Venus combust, yes, relationship difficulties, struggle to make connection, maintain connection, all the Venus things, but what a deep sense of aestheticism. You can see shape, beauty, and you may be artistic or not, but you have a deep sense of proportion. What is beautiful in the world? Very, very fine perception. But of course, malefics do struggle and do become slightly more malefic. Mongala can become more angry, more antagonistic. Saturn, there can be loss involved, difficulty with father, or a deep connection with the father that you are struggling to make work, which becomes karmically so central to you. Things like that can be seen. But here's the other factor should never be forgotten. If you're going to judge combustion, you must remember this. The houses ruled in the chart by that planet, houses ruled are becoming burnt up, are struggling, are having the effect of the combustion come into that area. So if you are unsure, I don't know what degree to use. One astrologer says 14 degrees, one says 15, one says 13. Is this planet combust or not? You will know for sure, everybody, if you check the houses ruled in the chart. Let's say you've got Gemini ascendant and you've got Mercury combust in your chart. Mercury rules first house, you, and fourth house of home, mother, etc. So these houses are having combustion effect coming onto them. First house is about making decisions, etc. So Mercury's combustion, that can be seriously impacted. You can be going round in circles sometimes, backwards to go forward, that sort of thing. Mercury rules fourth house of home, mother. So mother can be having some issues. There can be problems with the mother, problems with the home. There can be disturbance in the early childhood situation, fourth house, and with property, home concerns, all of these things later in life. So you must judge the houses ruled. It's a most important consideration. Let's learn this from the chart of Marilyn Monroe, of course. We've been doing this chart a few times. So check carefully, everybody. Stop the video should you need to. Is there a combustion of any planets? What houses are involved? And where is the combustion? See if you could make any conclusions from the combustion, and then we'll continue. You're correct if you said that Mercury is in a combustion at 13 degrees of Taurus, because the Sun is 17 degrees Taurus. So they are definitely having a very strong combustion indeed. And also that the house is ruled by Mercury, therefore also having an effect of combustion on them, are the third house over here, Virgo, and the 12th house of Gemini. Well done if you identified those. Now let's think about the effect. Well, it's in the 11th house. Again, I hope you notice the 11th house is friendships, network circles, and gain. And Mercury is the actual karaka of friendship. So the first thing we are going to say here is that friendships become disturbed. There is some difficulty for her perhaps maintaining friendships. And she spoke about this often. She said, I have no friends. She said, I just can't get connections deeply with friendships. She actually spoke about that. She had so many connections, network circles. She was on the phone to people night and day. That was the main thing. She said, phone is my friend, yeah? But did she have deep friendships? No, there was a struggle. Digging a bit deeper, we can see something's going on here, because Mercury lords 12th house of secret enemies. 12th house, secret enemies. 6th house, open enemies. So if Mercury is the lord of her secret enemy house and he's gone into friend house, her enemies are friends, or seem to be friends. It's like frenemies, yeah? Who is her friend, who is her enemy becomes blurred. She's trusting of other people, but mistrusting at the same time. So there's this disharmony happening. Friends are not all they seem to be, we can see by this placement. Next important thing, Mercury is the karaka for speech and communication. Many people having a combustion of Mercury will have communication problems, speech and language issue, this sort of thing. Marilyn Monroe definitely had this. From her childhood, she had a stutter. She had a definite speech impediment. She hid the stutter though, hid it completely. She was actually schooled how to do this. So she developed this sort of high-pitched, sort of lisping, like a breathy, whispery type of voice, which was actually very, very sexy voice, and she became famous for it. Even more clues to that is that Mercury is the lord of the third house, communication style, and it's here. Combust, problems are there. Sun is the lord of the second house, money, but also speech itself. It's all adding up to a speech problem, which she hides, she manipulates, and it becomes hugely profitable. Her speaking style becomes iconic. Now, the third house is siblings. Combustion of the Lord. Mercury is going to affect connection to them. She had quite a few half-siblings. She didn't ever know them, apart from one particular half-sibling called Bernice, who was an elder sister. Now, Mercury, anyway, signifies sister. Anybody's chart, 11th house is the elder sibling. So elder sister is shown by this Mercury. But Marilyn didn't know of this elder sibling's existence, nor did she know of Marilyn until they were 17, 18 years of age. And that was when they first met. After that, she did maintain a fairly consistent connection to this elder sibling. Another big factor about Mercury's combustion, Mercury is the 12th house lord. So the 12th house is being burnt up. What is the 12th house? It is sleep, the bed. She couldn't sleep. Marilyn Monroe had mega insomnia. Mercury with the sun. Sun is fire. Sun is daylight. She's being kept awake when she wants to sleep. Of course, Rahu being here doesn't help. Rahu is poisons, drugs, etc. She became addicted to sleeping pills. It was a major problem for her. Next phenomena, everyone. Let's see planetary war. Where this happens in a chart, it is called Graha Yudhya. This happens when planets are so close together they are within 60 minutes of each other. 1 degree equals 60 minutes. Now, this phenomena is rare, but when you see it, take note of it. All planets can have this except the nodes who eclipse planets and the Sun, who is, of course, in a combustion. As I say, they must be within 60 minutes, within 1 degree of each other. How do you see it? Software should indicate it if it does not check longitude of each individual planet, or just grab an ephemeris. I've showed you how to do that last lesson. It will be obvious there. And what's the effect of this planetary war? Well, the higher degree planet wins, of course, wins even by minutes. They have got one over the other, if you like. It's a battle, and that planet becomes stronger in every way in the chart, and the houses ruled by that planet become stronger. But the losing planet, lower degree planet in this war, is weakened, and the houses ruled by the planet similarly so. We definitely need to see an example to see this major phenomena working in a chart. See a chart. No, you're not seeing things, everybody. Marilyn Monroe's chart does not have Graha Yudhya, planetary war, but my goodness, the chart of Adolf Hitler is a perfect example of this to an extremely strong degree. Can you see, everybody, where the planetary war takes place? Stop the video, look at the chart carefully. Well done, everyone. If you saw, Venus is here at 24 degrees of Aries and Mangala at 24 Aries. A planetary war is going on between them, definitely in the 7th house. Yes, Venus retrograde as well, but that's all right. So who is the victor? Who is defeated in this Graha Yudhya between Venus Mangala in Adolf Hitler's chart? We need to see minutes now, because every degree divides into 60 minutes. Here we can see them here in the longitude section. Have a quick look. Let me know. Who wins the planetary war? Well done if you saw that the victor is Mangala, the god of war, and the defeated is Venus. You see, Mangala is at 24 degrees 20, but Venus is at 24 degrees 14. So Mangala has the higher degree. He is the victor. Venus is defeated. So who is defeated? Who is Venus? In this horoscope, have a quick look again. See the house lordship. Yes, Venus is the lord of the first house. Venus is Adolf Hitler himself. He gets defeated when he goes into warfare situation. Adolf Hitler is the person being defeated in this planetary war. And yes, Venus is 8th house lord. 8th house lord means longevity, end of life as well. There it is, Venus Mars. He died in a violent way. Mangala, he committed suicide. But, well, how did he die? He was with his wife. On the day he married, he died. Next big thing to see in a chart, should always see this very, very clearly, always take a note of it. How strong is the moon? Now, by this we are not considering house of the moon, sign of the moon. They are separate considerations, aspects of the moon, all of that. We just need to know this. What phase was the moon in when you were born in that particular horoscope? Moon waxes, wanes all the time. What phase? So new moon, full moon, waxing, waning moon. This is all important because moon is mind manas. So seeing the moon indicates how strong is your mind. We're not talking about intelligence, just the mind. It's a very important judgment. This can give you difficulties if it is weak. Weakened moon is a stressful phenomena. So how do we see it? First thing, we need to understand the two extremes, new moon and full moon. New moon means that the sun is in a conjunction exactly with the moon. Moon has been hidden by the sun. Moon is not visible in the sky. It's a completely dark moon. Full moon is the full strength of the moon. Sun opposes the moon. Therefore, the moon has full brightness as it reflects the sun. So moon is big in the sky, bright in the sky, Purnima. This is full strength. But most people are not born on these extremes. So if you are, well, it's weak moon, strong moon, just like that. But if you are not, we need a way to judge. The quick check is easy. The weakest moon is within 72 degrees of the sun. So find the sun in the chart. Check 72 degrees before the sun, 72 degrees after the sun. Therefore, if the moon in any horoscope is within 72 degrees before, after the sun, either way, it's a dark moon, weakened moon. We can just say that. And every other position of the moon relative to the sun is not so dark. It is not dark moon. It has a certain amount of strength. We are not going to look at waxing, waning moon here. That's not so important. I just want you to understand, to see straight away, is the moon weak in a chart? Because if it is weak, the mind needs to be strengthened. Moon needs to be strengthened. Because what happens is weak moon makes you very, let's say, affected by other people's emotions, by things going on around you, makes you extremely sensitive indeed. People who have a weak moon find it hard to control emotions, get very over emotional, cry easily, all of those things. Mind has to be strengthened. It's a difficult factor. It can impact relationships as well sometimes. So weak moon needs to be noted in a horoscope. Let's see this in Marilyn Monroe's chart. Does her moon have weakness? Is her mind weakened? Is she struggling with her emotions? Let's see. Find the moon in the chart. Find the sun. Stop the video. Use that technique. 72 degrees before and after the sun is a weak moon. Let's see what you find. It's easy to judge, really, isn't it? Moon is here, sun is here, moon is 26 degrees Capricorn, moon is 17 degrees Taurus. We can see there are three signs in between them, 30 degrees each. That's 90 degrees between them. This is nowhere a dark moon. So her mind is not suffering from that dark moon phenomena. The next big learning, the friends and the foes of the individual grahas. This is very important, judging a chart. We are considering Sambandha in this video, everyone. Relationship between the grahas. But if we don't know who are the friends of each individual planet or the foes, enemies, it's much more difficult to judge. Now, this information can be overused, so don't go down that route. But as a beginner, definitely, when you see conjunctions, same house, planets, same sign, this becomes crucial. When we go on future videos to make predictions, Mahadasha, transits, then these relationships between the planets are going to become important. Now, this can become complicated in Vedic astrology, so I'm going to now try to cut it down to the bare basics. Let's have a go. Here they are for you, from the Sun to Saturn. Every planet considers other planets either to be a friend, enemy, or neutral. That's the basic thing. Getting on with them well, happy with them, not happy with them, conflict with them, enemy, or neutral, neither friend nor enemy. Just like when you've got friends in your house, it's nice normally, hopefully. When you have people who you have enmity to, that's really tense, really difficult. Neutral, so-so. So who is with you, spending a lot of time with you? It makes a difference. Nobody wants to hang out with enemies. That's tense. That's stressful. We all know this. But the issue with this friend-enemy phenomena is that some planets consider other planets to be a friend, but the other planet considers that same planet to be enemy or is simply neutral, isn't reciprocating friendship. I'm not going to go through them all now. Photoshop the page, I suggest, but we'll just have a look at some of these interesting factors. The first one is that the moon has no enemies. Always remember this. The moon is a friend to all. Friend to Sun, Mercury particularly, loves to be with them. Although, you see, right away, Mercury is not a friend to the moon. That's a special problem. But friend to the Sun and Mercury, neutral to Mongol, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn. The nodes we shall do separately. Mercury, you see, is seen as the son of the moon, child of the moon. Conceived outside of marriage, the moon abandoned Mercury. So Mercury considers the moon to be arch enemy, whereas the moon is friendly towards his sun. So when you have moon Mercury together in a chart, it's challenging because one loves the other, but the other doesn't love them. It's a child-father problem, if you see what I mean. So get to know these. Who is friend? Who is enemy? Use them accordingly. Now, the nodes of the moon, Rahu, the north node, Ketu, the south node. It's very simple. Rahu's friends are Venus, Saturn, Mercury. Now, he doesn't really have friends because he's deceit. He's not honest. But he pretends to like. He will put up with Venus, Shani, Mercury. Personally speaking, he will. And he detests the sun, who he eclipses. Moon, Mars, and Ketu. Rahu, Ketu are enemies to each other. They are one being, but they are separated. They have a completely different agenda. Check the video on my channel, Planets in Astrology, Lesson 3. Rahu's about keeping us here, tempting us into bad actions. Ketu's about liberating us. Completely different. They are not friendly to each other, obviously. You see, everybody, Rahu Saturn is a difficult combination in astrology. It's particularly difficult because Rahu considers Saturn a friend. At least he can tolerate Shani, whereas Shani cannot bear to be with Rahu. He is enemy. He considers Rahu enemy. So when one person likes the other and the other doesn't like them, it's a very tense situation, yeah? Ketu, the south node, is friendly to the sun, friendly to Mars, but they are just neutral. It's not totally reciprocated. Ketu considers enemies to be Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Moon, and, of course, Rahu. Now, Marilyn Monroe's chart, very, very quickly with this friendship enemy factor with the planets. 2 houses have conjunctions. 8th house, Aquarius, Jupiter and Mars, and 11th house, Taurus, Sun, Mercury. Now, we've looked at Sun and Mercury, of course, in some detail because there is a combustion happening here. But one of the things that actually makes this Sun-Mercury work for Marilyn Monroe, and some good factors come out, is that they are not terrible enemies. Yes, Sun is not so happy with Mercury, but Mercury is happy with the Sun. So they're going to make some effort. It's not a terrible conjunction. In fact, it's a beneficial yoga, some charts. But of course, combustion comes into effect. Good and bad came out of this. We've discussed already. But the other conjunction's quite interesting as well. This Jupiter-Mars factor. Now, when she died, she was actually in Jupiter-Mars dasha. Jupiter and Mars is a very good conjunction. They are happy with each other. Jupiter is a super friend to Mars, Mars to Jupiter. They're happy, but they find themselves in a difficult sign, Aquarius. Not easy for either of them, and in a Dustana house. That's the issue. So when she was in Jupiter-Mars dasha, certainly that was when she died. But the thing is, we're going to look at this in a great deal more detail. Do not fear. We're working up to the mystery of her death. Did she commit suicide? Was she killed? Was it an accident? We're going to find out. Don't worry. So Jupiter-Mangala, of course, is a happy situation, but in a difficult house. They're happy together, but they're in difficulty together. She was coming out of a difficult time in her life, Jupiter-Mars. She had many opportunities. She got new movie deals. She was looking forward to doing very exciting projects. Many people said they couldn't understand how she committed suicide at the time when she had so much going for her. So that's one of the factors we shall definitely come back to. Last but not least, Parivartana, called mutual exchange, perhaps the strongest, in fact, many say the strongest of all the sambandha between the planets, stronger even than conjunction. So, what is Parivartana? Parivartana is where one planet has gone into the sign of the other. They are mutually exchanging signs. For example, you could have Saturn has gone into Leo sign and Leo's Lord Sun has gone into Saturn's sign, say Capricorn. Therefore, Sun in Capricorn, Saturn in Leo are having a Parivartana, having a mutual exchange. It's a very strong yoga, Parivartana yoga, and actually sometimes it is misunderstood. It is positive, it is helpful. They have each other's back. But it is not like a conjunction. It is even more powerful, actually. It is something different. There's a special bond happened between these two planets. And how is it going to manifest? Let's see. First point, it's a lifelong effect. It isn't just Mahadasha. Parivartana is something going on in your life, in somebody's life, which is a permanent factor. Those two planets are forming a strong bond, understanding between each other. They are mutually affecting each other continually. Those signs, those houses, it's a big effect in that chart. Always check it very, very carefully. Give it deep analysis. It's mostly helpful. I have to get this very, very clear. Helpful when it is between Kendra or trine lords. We're not looking at the houses they are in, but who they lord. Nonetheless, there is challenge involved when any of those lords are Dustana lord, like 6, 8, 12. Not in the houses necessarily, but lords of the houses. You'll see how it goes. I'm going to give you some examples. Particularly 6, 8, it can be challenging because it's going to bring conflict, difficulty, transformation, big time, which is never easy when the dasha period comes, as we shall see. But of course, the big change, the big challenge, or the big transformation, it is a transformation. The whole life can go in a different direction when the Mahadasha period of these planets come. Now, we haven't done Mahadasha yet, but I have to bring it in because Parivartana is a time-based thing. It affects you there, all of your life, but it explodes into your life. It really turns your life around in the Mahadasha period. So mutual exchange, Parivartana, can only be understood really in this Vedic astrology system. Western astrology has it there, mutual exchange, but it's not really giving any effect until you can use time periods, Mahadasha. So keep these things in mind. Let's have some examples. Few examples to make it crystal clear, I hope. I've just made up this horoscope. We've got Sun in Aries in the first house, Mars in Leo, fifth house. It's a Parivartana exchange. Why? Because the Sun is in Aries, which is Mars's house, and Mars is in Leo, which is the Sun's house. So they have exchanged houses. And it's in trine as well, because Sun is the trine lord and Mars is a trine or Kendra lord. Ascendant is trine and Kendra. This is a very helpful, very powerful yoga. It's going to bond together Sun Mangala. Going to give a lot of strength to any horoscope with this situation happening. Let's see the same example but in a different chart, a different ascendant. I've put in all the signs for you this time. We've got Capricorn ascendant, and we've got the Sun again Aries and Mars again in Leo sign. But this time it's more challenging. Why? Because the Sun is the lord of the 8th house. Mars rules 4th house, Kendra, that's okay. But the Sun lords difficult Dustana 8th house. So it's still Parivartana, mutual exchange. Sun, Mars are very close together, influencing each other all of the life. But because Sun is the 8th house lord, when the Mahadasha comes, when the periods come of these two grahas, there's going to be challenge, difficulty. That will be inevitable. Final example, let's put Jupiter into Taurus and Venus into Sagittarius. Once again, Capricorn ascendant. So Jupiter is in Venus's sign and Venus is in Jupiter's sign. Parivartana. But this time, don't forget, Jupiter is the lord of the 12th house, Dustana house. Venus, trine house, of course, but Jupiter, Dustana lord. This isn't so difficult as that last example because this is going to bring 12th house matters, meaning foreign land, foreign travel, could be romance happening abroad, romantic connections. Jupiter's in 5th house. You can read it deeply, but there is challenge. Nonetheless, Venus, Jupiter, Jupiter, Venus period, huge transformation happens, possibly involving those factors. Let's see it working in a horoscope, everybody. Johnny Depp's chart this time because Marilyn Monroe hasn't got Parivartana. So, can you see? Stop the video, of course. Check it carefully. It's not easy to see straight away, but there is a very strong Parivartana happening between two planets in this chart. See if you can spot it. Very well done indeed. If you saw it is K2, South Node in Sagittarius, and Jupiter in Pisces, who are having a mutual exchange together. Don't worry if you didn't get it. It's a bit tricky to see because you might have forgotten. You see that K2 is the lord of Pisces as well as Jupiter. So K2 is in Jupiter's sign, Sagittarius, and Jupiter is in K2's sign, Pisces. But very importantly, of course, one of the planets rules a Dustana house. Can you shout out who it is? It's Jupiter, yes. Jupiter lords the 6th house, Sagittarius, house of litigation, quarrels, competitors. So this is a lifelong part of who he is. He attracts competition. He gets into quarrels, litigations easily. And of course, it's been a big part of his public life in the last few years. And that is where this Jupiter K2 really came to the fore, really turned it around for Johnny Depp. As you may know, Johnny Depp's been involved in many litigation trials. It's like trial after trial after trial the last years, and he's in Jupiter Mahadasha. It all started 2018 when he sued a British newspaper for defamation, all about his relationship with his ex-wife Amber Heard. But he lost that case and he had to have a big payout. He had to pay a lot of money. He definitely had a whole career bust up. His whole public reputation went to a downward spiral. He lost film roles, everything. He was a virtual non-persona, whatever it is. He was in a bad place. But then, still in Jupiter Mahadasha, he went into, have a guess it, Jupiter K2. He went into the Jupiter K2 period and it all turned around. Jupiter K2 ran between June 21 and May 22, and it was in April 22 that Johnny Depp started that defamation trial against Amber Heard. This time it was always toing and throwing, and he sued her for defamation, and it was televised, was a huge thing, and he won. And that gave him a huge payout, but much more than that, it turned his whole life around. Reputation rose again. It was a complete transformation. Now, note, he got the actual payout, $10 million in Jupiter-Venus, Venus in gain house, Taurus, strong placement. But he started the whole litigation, Jupiter K2. It's where we start things, that's the key. So he started Jupiter K2. If you were just looking at this chart, you would think K2's in 6th house with the moon, his lord. Oh, it's not going to be good until you see Parivartana happening, Jupiter K2, which is a big breakthrough, which is favorable. Jupiter K2 are supporting each other. He got his life back in that sense, in that reputation sense, certainly. Next lesson, it's the yogas, Raj yogas, lunar, solar, so many more. Sub to my channel if you're new, of course, and check out the other videos on your screen right now in this series. Goodbye for now, and good luck with your learning.